All right, what's up, everyone? Bryce Gelman here. Another live and something that I'm very excited about. It's a long time coming. It hasn't worked out. We've been trying to run it back here with at Nick Central, Alex B, one of the most controversial guys on Nick's Twitter. Every time I see one of his tweets, I'm questioning what the hell is he thinking. We used to agree on the majority of things, but I think he's gone a little bit insane in the head. So we'll discuss that. We're going to be previewing Knicks-Pistons. And a bunch of other things. If you want to get in on the conversation, just drop a comment in the chat and we'll get to it. But without further ado, let's bring him on. One of the most controversial guys on my timeline, Alex B. What's up, man?
How's it going? Not that controversial, I don't think.
Dude, I mean, how many people realistically are you arguing with on a daily basis on the After We Call?
A lot. But it's okay. But I'm always right, so it doesn't matter. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get to that. But I wanted to start here with some Knicks-Pistons talk. Of course, these two teams will match up. The Pistons were 3-. I know you don't think that regular season success has anything to do with postseason success. I tend to agree with you on the Pistons, but we'll get to the Celtics and whoever else.
So you moved the goalpost. I understand. No, that makes sense.
That's not what I'm saying. Well, we're gonna get to it. Well, let's talk Knicks-Pistons first. Knicks 1-3 against the Pistons this year. Cade Cunningham absolutely destroyed the Knicks in each one of those games, even the one that the Knicks won. Give me your thoughts going into this series, and then I'll bounce off of you.
Honestly, I'm not worried. I think it's going to be a tougher series than I'm leading on. I think the Knicks will win in 4 or 5, but I think the games will be close, especially early on. If the Knicks smack the Pistons in game 1, it'll be a sweep. You know what I mean? I think that they'll just be look like they'll be happy to be there, et cetera, which is very possible. I mean, I don't blame them. They're all a young team. There's only like 4 guys on the team that's played in the playoffs, and none of them are the top players on the team. It's like Tim Hardaway Jr., Tobias Harris, Beasley, and I think, and Schroeder. So that's about it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think I might have missed another guy, but other than that, it's like where are we going?
Hardaway Jr.
Hardaway Jr. Yeah, there you go. And then on top of that, it's like if you look at the top, I know I'm beating a dead horse here. If you follow me on Twitter, top 6 guys in the series, 5 of them are Knicks. You know what I mean? So I don't know. And then
not according to some people on Twitter that they Cade Cunningham's the best player in the series. I'm not even going to do it. I don't want to do it. We're not.
It's also the playoffs, and Brunson has been amazing in the playoffs. He also has been amazing in the regular season in the clutch. He's like second most clutch points in the season, and that's only because he got hurt. So he might have been number 1. It wasn't that far away from Anthony Edwards. I think he was number 1.
And he's the clutch player of the year. I mean, I think it's consensusly believed that he'll be the clutch player of the year. So let's throw that out.
He should be, but I mean, that's a made-up award. I don't even care about that. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's like, last year in the playoffs, he was awesome. And the year before, he was awesome. And with the Mavericks, he was awesome. And he's gotten to the conference finals with the Mavericks. People forget about that. And his career didn't start 3 years ago when he got to the Knicks. You know what I mean? Brunson is great. And he's a Hall of Famer. And he's an all-star game starter for a reason. And Cade Cunningham, he's great too on his own right. He was a number 1 pick for a reason. He's put the Pistons on his back this year, and they've improved dramatically this year. But he has never played in the playoffs. He's never played in the playoffs at Madison Square Garden, not to toot our own horn. But it's a tough place to play in the playoffs, man. It's not like the regular season where you get all the celebrities showing up. This is legitimate tough place to play. The Cavs 2 years ago, and these weren't even guys that had never played in the playoffs. The Cavs 2 years ago saw deer in the headlights, man. Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen admitted that they were thrown off by how crazy the crowd was at the Garden. Now imagine a bunch of young Pistons, and I know Isaiah Stewart, but I'm not worried about him. You know what I mean? It's just he's just a wrestler. He's like a WWE wrestler. He's not scary. None of these guys are scaring me. It's Cade Cunningham and the rest of everybody. You know what I mean? Beasley could get hot. The Knicks have difficulty guarding the 3. Other than that, man, what would I have to be worried about, man?
Yeah, I mean, what you have to be worried about is the fact that the Knicks have been completely inept at containing Cade Cunningham no matter who they put on. They put Bridges on him. They put OG on him. There's something I wanted to get into, the fact that, it seems like all signs are pointing towards OG Anunoby being the guy. I mean, listen, Tom Thibodeau, very unpredictable with his matchups. Sometimes you think that he's going to do something. You think that that's the obvious choice. He comes out with something different. You don't know. He
Leon Rose too. That's how they do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lack of transparency there, and you just never know what they're thinking. There's obviously the chance that they open up a series with McHale on him, which I think would be a huge mistake, considering how well that Cade Cunningham has played. You put your best defender on the best player on the opposing team. I mentioned this earlier on this week. It just sucks that the best player on the opposing team is a point guard. You'd rather OG Anunoby on the 3 or the 4 instead of like who's going to guard. Listen, Tobias Harris, I'm not concerned about. We had a comment from my friend Joseph Gruber. He says, we've seen Tobias' brilliance under the bright lights in the playoffs. And of course.
Hey, listen, I'm never going to trash a fellow Long Island kid, so I'll never trash Tobias Harris.
I'll do it. He's had a good year, a resurgent year. I don't think he's worth anywhere near the amount of money the Pistons paid him.
Oh, of course.
I digress, though.
He's a bad getter, though. He's a bad getter.
I'm concerned about the physicality in this series. I'm concerned that this Knicks team lacks what they had last year, which is the hard-nosed, tough mentality, and actual identity.
Right.
I still, 82 games into the year, Alex, I don't know what this Knicks identity is. I don't know what the team's identity is. That's the thing I'm most concerned about, along with Cade Cunningham going off against the Knicks. I think he'll rise to the occasion. I'm looking at everyone else on that Pistons team, the lack of experience that the majority of them had. Duran, Asor Thompson, Ron, like Holland, like all these guys who barely played a lot in the NBA, stepping in onto that stage. I'm not concerned about Cade. I think he'll have a great series, but it's about containing him and letting the other guys beat you. So my whole thing about it is, and this is, I'd like to pose this question to you, is like, what is a success? What is going to be deemed a success in the series? Is it the Knicks winning in a sweep? Or is it 5 games? Like, where does it get to the point where it's like, okay, this is a little concerning?
Just win the series. I mean, we're not at a point where we're the Warriors in the dynasty where we're like, oh my God, you win the series in 6 or 5, and that's a problem. I mean, if you lose a series, that's a major problem. Major changes can happen, especially with the coach. But I think that even if they win it in 7, you know what I mean? You got to win the series. It doesn't matter. People forget that Garnett, Pierce, Allen championship year, the Hawks took the Celtics to 7 games in the first round. You know what I mean? People don't even remember that because who cares? It's something to talk about in the moment and it'll be scary. But you know what? We're not at the point of a franchise in our development of that we need to worry about how many games we win a series. Just win the damn series. Like last year, the Knicks beat the Sixers in 6. And, none of us were really ever worried, I think, as a fan base. But you lose that game, you're like, you know what I mean? Then you never know. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. I expect the Knicks to win in 4 or 5, but if they win in 6 or 7, it just win the damn series. I don't care. Let's bring it on to Boston and let's see.
Yeah, I don't have that same mindset as you because I think a 6 or 7 game series against this team, this isn't, a team that doesn't have, I could go through the list of teams that I wouldn't be as concerned playing like the Hawks or whomever. But this is a team that brings it and specifically with the physicality. So, I mean, I've discussed this with you. I work for a Detroit radio station. I hear constantly, I know a lot about the Pistons. So I hear them talking. They're very confident right now, which is hilarious. Got people calling in left and right, thinking the Knicks are going to be a cakewalk. Look at that.
Because the national media trashes the Knicks on a regular basis, so they think the Knicks ain't shit. You know what I mean?
That's they have no idea what they're talking about. Right. It's very frustrating as a Knicks fan to listen to that kind of stuff. And this is going to be a terrible week, but if the Knicks win, it'll make it a lot easier.
Oh, for sure.
I sit here and I think about, and again, you're not as concerned about this as I am. I think about where the Knicks have struggled this year, and that's against the top teams. I think about what a long series could do to the Knicks. I think that they have a tiny chance to beat Boston if and when they match up in the second round. I think that chance and the percentage of them winning that series goes down to near 0 if they are locked into the series for 6-7 games against a team that is as physical and tough as the Pistons. I think there's going to be a couple fights in this series. I just don't know who on the Knicks team is willing to rise to the occasion of meeting that physicality, of meeting that toughness. We look at that at the Knicks roster from top to bottom. Who is that guy? I really don't know who there is out there. The Knicks might get punked by the Pistons in the series. They may be completely drained mentally and physically going into a hypothetical series against the Celtics. That's why I'm looking at this series. If it goes 6 or 7, that is a major concern. When you look at the talent disparity among these two teams, there should be no excuse. And you look at the odds. The Knicks are minus 400 to win the series. there should be no excuses as to why the Knicks can't either sweep them or gentlemen sweep the Pistons in this series. And I tend to disagree with you that if it goes 6-7, then, I know, again, you're not as concerned facing the Celtics. You're not as concerned facing the Cavs. But with my concern, with the majority of the fan base's concern, a 6 or 7 game series against a team like the Pistons could make this an extremely difficult matchup against the Celtics in the second round.
Yeah, yes, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. You want it to be quicker, and you think about the to compare an older series, the Knicks, the 54-win year, they had the Celtics beat, and then J.R. Smith with the elbow to Jason Terry, it wakes up the beasts, and then they end up winning in a few games after that. But it kind of ruined that rest time that they could have had for the second round versus the Pacers, where they ended up losing. But I also think that the Magic are going to give the Celtics some problems. I don't think that they're going to beat them. I think that they're a very tough and dirty team, and they have 2 stars. I think that that's not going to be a cakewalk series for the Celtics. I think that they're going to beat them, and it's not going to be a problem. But I don't think that it's going to be very easy. I think that the Celtics might take them a little lightly.
I think it'd be a lot easier than the Knicks against the Pistons. That's what I'll say.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. I mean, the talent level, of course. But at the same time, I think that the Magic are a good team, and they have 2 stars that are not afraid. And I know they're without Mo Wagner and without Suggs, but they have a legitimate team. And they should have been a top 4 or 5 team in the East this year if they didn't have all these injuries that they had.
They were actually better with the injuries. Paolo went out, and Franz Wagner, I mean, he started playing like a top 20 player in the NBA. And then Paolo came back, and they weren't the same team for a while. And then they kind of turned it around at the end of the season.
They're dirty, and they could give you some hits. They're like the Pistons. They're dirty. They're tough. Like they're gonna go at you. And I just feel that that series is not gonna be easy. But the point is that I hear you. You make a great point that you want the rest time. You want all the time in the world to rest and just be easy and get through the Pistons and have no injuries, God forbid. But the Knicks have also gotten smart. Towards the end of the year, people were trying to say they were tanking for the 4 seed. I don't think they were. I think that they had the 3 or 4 clinched up, and they said, let's rest. And they finally did what everybody asked for, and that's to rest their guys and rotate in the rest. If they were tanking, they would have sat everybody for the last 2 weeks. But they weren't. They were just resting and rotating players, playing them not a lot of minutes, and then they had this entire week off of the play-in tournament, kind of like a bye week in football, and they're ready to rock. And I think that that's why that this Pistons series is going to be relatively quick. But at the end of the day, you got to win the series, so it doesn't matter how you do it.
There's something you mentioned earlier that I was gonna bring up. I just remembered now. The fact that Jalen Brunson put up now 2 years in a row going into this year, unbelievable playoff performances. He performed in the clutch. He did everything that the Knicks asked him to do, that we as a fan base asked him to do, and coming up clutch and time again. What was the 4 straight 40-point games last year?
Yeah.
We have not seen this level of competence on a playoff on the scale that he's played at in the playoffs in our entire lives. I mean, unless you're 70 years old and watching this and you remember the 1970s Knicks, we have not seen this.
No.
So, but my concern with that going into the series is if you watched each and every single one of these games since Jalen Brunson returned from his ankle injury.
Mm-hmm.
He did not look like the same player. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the week that he's had off, that he will have off, can help him get back to where he needs to be before the playoffs. That's certainly a possibility. But going off what I saw in the, I think he played 4 games, 4 out of 5 of the potential games that he could have played. When he came back from injury, got to the 65-game threshold. He'll make an all-NBA team. He'll be the clutch player of the year now. He did not look anything like the Jalen Brunson that we're accustomed to seeing. He lacked that quick first step. He lacked the burst. He wasn't able to get as much as he's able to get with his, quick footwork. He wasn't able to collapse the defense, get the ball out to the shooters. You saw in a couple of those games, in the Trailblazers game specifically, OG Anunoby completely take over.
Right.
Because Jalen Brunson, like we haven't been able to see, is just not there at nearly 100%. So my question to you is, I know that we've talked about it, and we're going to get into it a little bit more in depth in a few minutes here. Your concern levels aren't that high. You tend to be more optimistic about this team and the playoff chances. where do the Knicks go if Jalen Brunson's still not at 100% going into the series against a physical team? Like, he may get beaten up in the series. I know he responds to that level of physicality. We've seen it plenty of times over and over again. But if this ankle is laboring, where do the Knicks go?
They go nowhere. I mean, honestly, Towns has also helped the Timberwolves get to the Western Conference Finals last year. People forget about that. They got to be like, he's got to prove it in the playoffs, like he did last year. I know, things that don't happen with the Knicks seem to not count for people who don't follow other teams.
I'm gonna expand on that after you're done, because I think that's an important topic that we discuss.
Right, and you know what, if Brunson is not himself, they could beat the Pistons, but they're not winning a game against the Celtics. You know what I mean? They need everything riding on, flying on full, whatever the term is, the expression. They need to be running on full cylinders, whatever you call it. I can't think. Yeah, thank you there. All cylinders. It's just, I just feel like he's going to be okay. I mean, he hasn't played now. When the game starts, it's like over a week, like another week or so plus off, on top of barely playing the week or two before that. And I think he'll be fine. You know what I mean? I think they know what they're doing. Dare I say, they finally may have learned. James Dolan used to be a terrible owner, but he learned to keep his hands off, and he learned to realize that I need to just sit back and let these guys do their thing. Maybe Tibbs learned something over the last couple of years and his entire coaching career to maybe rest these guys towards the end of the year when we've already clinched the 3rd or 4th seed. Like, who cares what we get? You know what I'm saying? I think that he's going to be fine. And I think that against the Pistons last Thursday, they didn't want to show their hand. And they just were like, let's let them think they can do whatever they want. You have pressure dunking on Isaiah Stewart. And they kind of just didn't take any of these games seriously towards the end of the year. After the Celtics game, that was it. You know what I mean? That was their last one. Let's try here. And they gave them a game, and they were in it to the end, and they should have beat them. That really pissed me off. But at the end of the day, they showed they can hang with them. And honestly, at a fully healthy team, I'm not worried. I mean, I don't think that they'll beat the Celtics. I know we're going to get to this, but I think that they won't get steamrolled, and I think they'll give it a series, and they could win it. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. The regular season doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't.
Yeah, and I did mention that the Trailblazers game, it was actually the Suns game. I just got that mixed up. I was at that Trailblazers game, and I should have known that Jalen Brunson wasn't back at that point, but it was the Suns in which Jalen, did not play well. He played 34 minutes in his return game. That was insane. I think about this potential series with Boston, and we'll get to that. I want to say one more thing about this series with the Pistons. You mentioned Karl-Anthony Towns and what he was able to do for the Timberwolves last year. That success largely came when he played alongside Rudy Gobert. One thing that we have not seen in a lot of minutes, in big bunches, is Karl-Anthony Towns slotted next to Mitchell Robinson as the 5 with Cat as the 4. I for the life of me cannot understand why we haven't seen it more. We saw it at the end of the Celtics game. I think to start overtime, they come out with Cornette and Porzingis. So I didn't understand at the time playing Cat at the 5 instead of bringing Mitch in, which would have been the more obvious matchup. I know Tom Thibodeau doesn't like to make adjustments based off other teams. I need to see more of that in this series. If you want a chance to compete against Boston, you got to get that rotation at least 10 to 15 minutes a game. No matter what else happens, you have to play Josh Hart. This is my thing with Josh Hart. If Mitchell Robinson eats into Josh Hart's minutes, or he can't eat into OG Anunoby's minutes, it has to be Josh Hart. I'm going to be thrilled about that. Josh Hart's playing way too much. I mean, he is so bad lately on the offensive end. He is limiting this Knicks team so much. You acquired Karl-Anthony Towns to get that spacing. If Josh Hart's playing 35, 40 minutes, the Knicks don't have spacing for that 35, 40 minutes. He can't shoot. They're playing defense on him like he's Dwight Howard out at the 3-point. It's like any center catching the ball on the 3-point line with the dribble handoff. They don't respect that. They're not obviously playing on him because he's shooting so badly from the 3-point line. So give me your thoughts on that potential Mitchell Robinson Cat lineup. I need to see more of it myself.
I love it. I mean, I love it. I do. And, to finish up your Josh Hart point, the reason why the Knicks were so dangerous against the Sixers last year is because he was hitting that 3 in the playoffs and even hit the series clinching one. And, that's what threw the Sixers completely off. You know what I mean? He was open and he was hitting them, and he was hitting them with confidence, and he hasn't shown that this entire season. And that's scary.
Well,
so I'm with you there.
To start the season, he was hitting the three like 40%.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. That's true.
Start of the year, but then halfway through the year, he lost his shot, which it was obvious that he was going to regress back to the mean. But I don't think anyone expected him to be this bad. You know?
Yeah. We'll see what happens. Like I said, playoffs are a new season. But Mitchell Robinson and Towns, I love it, man. And I love Mitchell Robinson on the floor because he is such a skilled offensive rebounder. That's one of the underrated parts of his game. And part of when they beat the Cavs a couple of years ago in the playoffs, he was grabbing every offensive board. That it's just it's demoralizing to a team. We saw it like in the last 2 months of the season where there were like so many times that the opposing team grabbed that offensive board. You're like, God damn it, grab the freaking rebound. You know what I mean? It's just like they couldn't do it. And that's why Mitchell Robinson is so dangerous and helps his team so much on top of his shot blocking prowess and defensively, of course. That goes without saying. So I think that, Towns gets a lot of rebounds. He really does. But I think it's more of just from positioning that Mitchell Robinson is more skilled of a rebounder, and he's got more of the angles.
Not necessarily
like
defensive, but offensive rebounds. There's no one better in the NBA. I think it's Steven Adams and Mitchell Robinson in terms of offensive rebounding percentage. And Mitch, before the injury, was number one, and no one was even close to him.
Right. And I'm okay with like them not starting and keeping the same starting lineup and then rolling Mitch, but playing Mitch with Towns more. Don't be so like you have to rotate Towns and Mitch, especially without Huck Porty around, and Precious is probably not going to play at all. So you have to have both them on the floor at the same time for stretches. You know what I mean? And you don't have to play hard 42 minutes like you did last year in the playoffs. Like, let's see what we got. We got OG, we got Bridges. Bridges hit a bunch of clutch shots. I know that everybody gives him shit. But you know what? He hits a lot of clutch shots, and he makes a lot of
against bad teams.
Yeah, against bad teams. Okay, well, you know what? The Pistons aren't that great. You know what I'm saying? Let's
playoffs though, and like
yes.
And
he has been to the finals, Bridges. He has helped the team to get to the finals. So like he has played well in the playoffs.
Let's discuss it. We got a question here from Joe, and it's going to lead me directly into my next topic here.
Right.
Would you rather Devo over Mikal going into the playoffs? Unfortunately, I think it's a serious question. It remains to be seen. It remains to be seen. I need a couple of games. I need to see Mikal Bridges with that Knicks uniform in the playoffs. Like I just, you mentioned it, that he helped the Suns get to the finals. I think he was a different player defensively. I think over the past few weeks, we've been seeing time and time again of him getting exposed. You trade for him to be able to guard the quicker guards. Like you trade for him to be able to match up with the Tyrese Maxey. Of course, they're not going to face him in the playoffs. You trade for him to be able to match up with some of the quickest guards in the league. Damian Lillard, Peyton Pritchard if he comes into the game. Derek, you catch my drift.
For sure.
You would like to match him up with Cade Cunningham. You'd like to put him on Cade Cunningham, but he is not big enough. He's frail as hell. He's long. Okay, great. He's made some game-saving blocks, some game-saving steals. He's great in the passing lanes because of his length. But dude, I mean, I don't trust him as a one-on-one defender. I don't. So I'm not going to say I'd rather Devo, but I saw this stat where I think the Knicks take 25 or more threes. I forgot exactly where it was. The Knicks are a significantly better team. And one of my biggest gripes with this team is you have a three-point shooter in Karl-Anthony Towns, who people called the best big man shooter in NBA history. Yet he's only taking 5 threes a game. He should be launching them. Like if Victor Wembanyama was shooting 12, 13 threes a game before his injury, why the hell isn't Karl-Anthony Towns doing the same? So I know I digress. I'm a little off topic.
Well, the Spurs won like 10 games. So like, even with Wemby,
it worked. Like you couldn't guard it.
He was dominating. Yeah,
so
he was.
We discussed, we'll get into the Devo, but one thing that he brought this Knicks team, the second that Julius Randle went down, he was launching threes. He was able to come in and launch 10 threes a game. He became, the Knicks all-time, single season record holder from three. He set that record. He probably would have set another record this year. Maybe not. I don't know how many minutes he would have played. But, losing him was a big deal because this Knicks team does not have anyone who could just launch threes. Mikal Bridges is not a good three-point shooter from anywhere else besides the corners.
That's all you got is Deuce.
Deuce, yeah. And he comes in and does, as good of a job as he could do in the 15, 20 minutes he plays a game. So I'm not going to say DiVincenzo, I'd rather have. I mean, physicality-wise, toughness, yes. I don't know if you saw that he got suspended in that, after that one brawl against the Pistons, this year when he was plays for the Timberwolves. That was pretty crazy. He got right in Isaiah Stewart's face. Like the Knicks need that type of toughness and that mentality. I don't know if Mikal Bridges brings you that. We haven't seen that this year. But until I see how he plays in the playoffs, I'm not going to make any judgment on that. Would you rather?
Right. And Mikal Bridges, it's just his personality. He's more aloof. He's more chill. He was the guy who got teased on that Villanova squad. You know what I mean? That's what it is. But like with DiVincenzo, he was the tough guy in that Villanova squad and that crew. And he was confidence all the way up 1,000 because he's not the most talented player in the world, but he gets the most out of his talent, and he'll miss a shot and take it again. You saw it in that crazy sequence with the Sixers last year with the rebound. He missed the one and came right back, hit the three. Like, you know what I mean? And he doesn't care, and that's why fans love DiVincenzo, because he was tough and he was going to shoot and he didn't care. He had that Starks mentality. You know what I mean? And that's what we loved about him. And Bridges doesn't bring that same fire and desire that he would have. But at the end of the day, like we have to see it. Like you said, like I would prefer DiVincenzo. I'm not going to lie. But Bridges is a better player overall. So, like, we got to see, like, Bridges does more than just shoot threes. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can do more than just shoot threes. And we saw the passing when Brunson was out. Like, he's a better passer than we saw, like, with Brunson around. But, like, that's not going to happen. He's got to play his role, catch his passes, hit the threes, do what you got to do, and just play your role and do your job. Like Belichick always says, do your job. Just do your job, and the Knicks will be fine. You don't have to be DiVincenzo. You got to be Mikal Bridges and just do your damn job. And OG Anunoby has to hit that open three. Josh Hart has to hit that open three. Brunson and Cat, they got to get into – I forgot who said it on Twitter. I want to give them credit. But the Knicks should run the pick and pop with Brunson and Towns until the Pistons stop it. Like, just run it, and don't ever stop until they can stop it, because Towns can pass and people are going to close in on Towns, and he can hit Brunson, he can get somebody else, but somebody else has to step up and hit those shots, and then the Knicks will steamroll the Pistons. Easy. Like the Pistons don't really have much besides getting under your skin and Cade Cunningham and Beasley, who hits the open shot and will be a problem for the Knicks. No doubt about it, because of the 3-point defense is terrible, which is on Bridges. You know what I mean? So, but DiVincenzo was not the best defender. He just hustled and never gave up. You know what I mean? That's what we loved about him. So
he was a pretty good on-ball defender. I don't think he's anywhere near what Mikal Bridges brings you in defending, in the passing lanes and again, as I said, his ability to block taller guys because of his length. I don't think DiVincenzo was anywhere near that. But in terms of being in position and not playing out of position, I think DiVincenzo would have fit a lot better in this lineup, because Mikal Bridges just does not seem to fit into that shooting guard role. I had an argument with this. It was someone on Twitter a couple of weeks ago about the idea of, like, Mikal Bridges is the shooting guard in that lineup. Like, it's Mikal, Hart, and then OG plays the 4. I'd rather OG play the 3, and you actually have a real power forward instead.
I think it's a rotation.
Josh Hart off the bench.
Hart and OG.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at it as like, the 2 through 4 is interchangeable, and of course it has been in the past. But for the most part, Mikal Bridges matches up against the opposing team's point guard or the opposing team's shooting guard. So, naturally he's he plays at the shooting guard position. I just, I constantly am coming to this conclusion with Mikal Bridges is he's not a big game performer. And we got this comment here. It says, isn't Bridges up for a contract? If this is the case, the playoff will prove, Prof, if he is worth it. He's got one more year in his deal after this. So, and I don't think there's more pressure on anyone else on the Knicks more than Mikal.
Of course.
He's got to play for the money. And also he has to prove that he was worth what the Knicks traded for him. Because as of right now, with the guys who appear to be potentially available this offseason, Giannis, KD, maybe Devin Booker, man, I mean, the Knicks may have made a major mistake trading for Bridges, depending on what he brings you in the postseason. Like, there's no excuses defensively. He needs to be what he was for the Suns. He needs to be a better on-ball defender. He needs to shoot the 3 better. He needs to perform against better teams better than he has. So I'm not going to say that I'd rather have DiVincenzo. Maybe he might fit this Knicks team better. But there was a lot of pressure riding on Mikal Bridges. And I've said it since the start of the season, Alex. When he plays well, it's very, very hard to beat the Knicks. Very hard, because when he's playing well, when he's hitting that fadeaway jumper that he takes, 50 times a game, it obviously, translates to the defensive end. He's a better defender and he's more confident there. It obviously doesn't give him magical powers to stop guys who are stronger than him that post him up and he can't defend them. But it gives him the confidence to go out there and do what he does best, which is defend the passing lanes, be an amazing off-ball defender, and match up against quicker guards, which, again, we have not seen. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's see what he's able to bring in the playoffs this year. Again, I'm not passing any judgment on him. Enough is said about Knicks-Pistons.
Yeah.
Let's get to what everyone came here for. And
last thing, really quick before you get to that, I think either Bridges or OG's offensive game is the key to this Pistons series on how quick, or key to the Knicks in general. Key to the Knicks in general.
Key to the playoffs. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, when OG is hitting his shots and doing these like the Euro steps and like he's going nuts, the Knicks are unbeatable. They really are. The
one thing about that though, and we saw it the other day.
Right.
I think it was probably against. I think it was against the Celtics where OG just did not have a good game offensively. Dude, I mean, they were not like when Brunson is ISOing. Yeah, he only had 13 points in that game. He was obviously averaging like 26 points the 10 games before that. We saw in that game Jalen Brunson, who was nowhere near 100%, try to take over that game. He tried to do everything he could. He did perform in the clutch. It's a big shots. Found Josh Hart trailing, for that layup that put the Knicks up 3 before Jason Tatum hit the 3 to tie the game. So what I saw in that game was a complete, deviation from what we've seen in the previous games with Brunson out. Even against the Suns, when Brunson came back the first game, OG still went off offensively because they were looking for him constantly. He was the number one offensive option. So I'm hung up on the fact that if Jalen Brunson, if the Knicks get into this, because they tend to get into this mindset and then the scheme of like giving the ball to Jalen Brunson, clearing out and letting him try to take over, and that obviously leads to offensive stagnation, and it can lead to the Knicks losing games they should win. I'm concerned about that going to the playoffs. Jalen Brunson might try to do too much, not try to get OG Anunoby involved in the offense. Mikal gets involved on his own because he moves a lot without the ball. And when he catches it, he's quick and getting to his spots. OG's not that type of guy. His confidence relies on the Knicks being confident in him. If the Knicks are not confident in him, if he's not getting a lot of touches in a game, it's hard for him to just be a catch and shoot guy. He has shown you his offensive prowess. He's shown you that he can be competent enough as the number 3 option over Mikal Bridges. And in a game where Karl-Anthony Towns or Jalen Brunson is not on offensively, OG can be that guy. So I don't want to see the Knicks falling into that pattern of giving the ball to Jalen Brunson and everyone else clearing the F out of the way. I can't see that because OG Anunoby will turn into what he was before Jalen Brunson got hurt. And that's someone who's a complementary piece on offense. If the Knicks want to win this series handedly, if the Knicks want to go far in the playoffs, OG needs to be a factor offensively. And he needs to touch the ball more. I mean, against the Celtics, he touched the ball like once in the first 6 minutes. I was infuriated. He barely touched the ball. I'm like, he's the hottest player on the team. You're playing one of the best teams in the NBA. The Celtics, 17 of their last 20 games won. At this point, before then, probably even better. They did not give the ball to their hottest guy on the team. If that occurs in this playoff series, they might go 6 or 7.
And that's on the coach. That's all on the coach. You know what I mean? All of the things you're saying and complaining about, which is totally valid, is all on the coach. At the end of the game, final shot, a couple seconds left, Brunson has to get the damn ball. Like against the Celtics when they, what was like when Tatum hit that step back, when you didn't foul for some reason, Brunson doesn't get the ball. You think guys like, I don't want to say Michael Jordan, but you think any guy that's a star in the NBA is not getting the ball there? You get him the ball. Even Steph Curry gets the ball.
Yeah.
Somehow get him the damn ball. You know what I'm saying?
Again, as I
that
said,
can't happen. That's on the coach.
He's lacking the athleticism that he has. Listen, he's not
right,
a very athletic player. He doesn't rely on his athleticism to get open. He relies on
7
his
screens.
footwork,
Like do whatever you got to do.
I know.
He's got to get the ball. Like, and if he doesn't get it on the inbound, give it to him right after that. Yeah,
Josh Hart cannot be taking a fadeaway 3.
No, I mean he should have hit it. It couldn't have been more open though. You know what I'm saying?
Josh Hart shooting a fadeaway 3 when he's shooting 30% 3.
But you're open. You know what I'm saying? Hit the shot. You hit it against the Sixers. I know he wasn't fading away, but you know what I'm saying?
Dude, he had as good of a chance of hitting that shot as I would have had in that situation. Let's be honest here. So, okay, let's get into it. Something that I've seen as a trend on your X page, Twitter, whatever the hell you want to call it. I prefaced this live with this and the fact that we have not agreed, we not disagreed on a lot before, but ever since the Knicks started this trend of losing games against the top teams in the league, you have consistently, and to your credit, you've stuck with this, and you've died on this hill when everyone is attacking you, and rightfully so because you're wrong. But you have consistently stuck by the fact that none of the Knicks' struggles against the top teams in the league in the regular season matter going into the playoffs. And I've got stats. I've come prepared. But present your argument to the 229 people currently tuning into this, the majority of which probably know what you have been saying because they follow you. And this is not coming from me. This is coming from a majority from your following. But explain for the people who don't.
It doesn't mean anything. It just really doesn't. In playoff start, everybody's record is 0-0. What happened in February doesn't matter in April. It really doesn't. It just doesn't. And I know like this is like silly thing to say, but you never know who's going to be healthy come playoff time. You never know who's going to be there. The team is healthy for the first time all season, like completely healthy. Besides Huck Porty, shout out to him. But other than that, like the Knicks are completely healthy. It's a different team. I know you're going to say, well, they're just a team. Only Mitchell Robinson is there from the other games versus the Celtics, et cetera, et cetera. First, we got to get through the Pistons, whatever. But this is a completely different team, a different season, and they're going to be fine. If they lose against the Celtics, it's probably likely that they do. It's not because they lost the game in December.
Now you're saying it's very likely that
I think that they can beat the Celtics, but they're the champs and they're a great team. You know what I mean? But like what happened in February, what happened in January, what happened in November doesn't matter come the second round of the playoffs.
Are very likely to lose to the Celtics.
They are likely to lose.
Why do
I think that they will lose?
Why do you think so? Maybe because they went 0-4 against them in the regular season. Maybe you just said
it has nothing to do with losing
injury.
the 4 games in the regular season.
You just said you don't know about it.
But the Knicks could have won that game. If the Knicks won that game where they should have won against the Celtics, the most recent game at the Garden that we're just talking about, you think now they have a better chance to win the playoff series in the second round?
No.
Exactly. So, like, what are we talking about?
I mean, yes, actually, I take that back because that would have actually shown that they have the ability to have some great late game execution, which we have not seen against not even just the best teams in the league, but a lot of other good teams. The Knicks do not. Besides the 2 games against the Grizzlies, I mean, that's, a solid team now, the 7th or 8th seed now. I mean, they were the number 2 seed at the time. It looked really good. And then of course, they lost the game against the Lakers in which they should have won.
The Bucks a couple times looked better, and it ended up being not such a great win. I get it.
It's against the good teams. They just do not execute well in late game scenarios. Maybe if the Knicks won that game, I'd feel better about it. But I think to your credit that, it doesn't matter as much when they in one game where they were close, but we are looking at a significant pattern that has obviously been called out by every single Twitter account, every major Twitter. Oh, the Knicks! We get it. It's easy for you to put out Knicks content and it to go viral when it's bad. But this is true. This is true. This is warranted criticism and a warranted spotlight being put on the inept play from the Knicks in big games. So. What do you I guess this is my question for you based off this logic of yours. What is it based off? Like besides vibes, besides you feel a different way, is there any statistical metric that you're basing it off of that the Knicks could be better against the Celtics and the Cavs than they've been in the regular season besides Mitchell Robinson's injury? Like that's going to change the fact that Knicks lost double digits to every in the 3 games they played against the Celtics before the last one?
It just doesn't matter. Like the point is that the Knicks are an experienced team. They're playoff experience. They have a lot of talent. They had 2 all-star starters. They have one of the best defensive players in the NBA in OG Anunoby. They have one of the best 6 men in the NBA in Deuce McBride. They just have to really learn to defend the 3, which is not going to happen, but they just have to beat them at their own game. Like they have to make the game their own, and they have to steal one in Boston. We're getting ahead of ourselves. I hate doing that, but they literally just have to. It's just a different animal. And we know Porzingis is made of glass. You know what I mean? Like these things, like it's hard to say because like the Knicks have been around. Everybody acts like, let me rewind. Everybody acts like this is year 1 of this tenure, which it's not. It's let's say year 3 with Brunson because the first playoffs with Tibbs, doesn't count because it's a completely different team from them besides Mitchell Robinson. So this is year 3. This is not year 1, okay? Like, they got 2 new starters and they got some new bench players, but like they're completely like the same team, okay? And every player that they got has more playoff experience than the Knicks' current roster does that have gotten to the second round. And Towns at the conference finals and Bridges got to the finals. So this team knows how to win in the playoffs. You know, they haven't done it together. And I know the Celtics obviously do too, but they got a cakewalk to the finals last year with everybody injured in the East. So I'm not saying that the Knicks absolutely guaranteed can. I'm just saying it's not like impossible. Like, they definitely could. You know what I mean? Why would I say that they can't just because they lost some games in February and in January and in November and barely lost at the end of the season? Like, it literally does not mean anything. And the Cavs, especially, the Cavs haven't proven shit. The Cavs have been like, this is the first year they've been great.
That's a different story, but you're not facing the Cavs in the second round. You're facing
right. Well, that's part of the agenda and the narrative that's been out there of they're 0-8 against the Cavs, Thunder, and Celtics. Like, they might not face any of these guys in the playoffs. You know, it's not likely, but they might not. They might only face one in the Celtics. You have no idea what's going to happen. The Thunder haven't proven it yet either in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? So, like, we have this like idea, like we want to predict the future and we know what's going to happen, but nobody had any idea the Cavs would be the 1 seed. If you show me one person that said the Cavs would be the 1 seed in the East this year, I show you a liar. You know what I'm saying? Like, even the Cavs didn't think they'd be this great, you know? So like, we have no idea. It's still sports. And in the NBA, we always think everything's chalk, and in the playoffs especially, and it never is. You can go back, you know, last year, the Mavs in the finals, nobody had that. The Heat in the finals 2 years before that, nobody had that. There's always going to be some random stuff that happens in the playoffs. And it sounds cliche, but anything can happen in the playoffs, man. And you're 0-0 when it comes to playoffs.
Here's the dichotomy in my brain right now.
Yeah.
On one hand, I'm a fan. I'd like to think the Knicks have a chance. I do believe that not to say that I'm always pessimistic, but I'm largely pessimistic about my teams, and that's just how I am, and it's a coping mechanism, and I'm just trying to set myself up for failure so I'm not let down as much.
I get it.
I am in life. But with the Knicks, on one hand, I look at this team, I look at the talent, I look at what Leon Rose has built, I look at the success they've had, I look at the moves that he's made. We've all questioned them when they've been made, but they ended up working out. You know, the jury's still out on these moves that he made this past offseason, but the other ones, besides the Evan Fournier signing and Kemba Walker, which was whatever, low risk, whatever.
That was a terrible year. That was the one bad year that made me lose some confidence, but then he turned it on. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
He's been hitting Grand Slam after Grand Slam since that year.
Besides those moves, he has been a largely, one of the best executives in the league.
Yeah.
So where I'm at with this is, as a fan, just like you, I hope that they have a chance. You know, I think that they have a chance. I'm not putting much weight into and much stock into what the Knicks did against these teams, 0-10 against the 3 teams, in my opinion, who have a chance to win the championship. But number 2 is looking at this objectively, looking at this logically from not as a fan, but as someone who enjoys watching the NBA and as someone who is, removed from the whole fandom idea. I'm trying to remove myself from this because I want to look at it objectively. And that side of the coin tells me the Knicks have no chance. The Knicks cannot play like that and expect things to be different. Like the Celtics in the third game they played, I forgot the exact stat, but they were like 4 for 20 from 3 in that first half. They were still up double digits. In the first game of the season, we watched them launch threes. They almost set the record for most threes ever hit in a game. They missed their last 15. They would have had it. We saw them absolutely destroy the Knicks, demoralize us as fans, our fan base, who thought that we had a chance against the Celtics this year. Obviously, things have changed. The Knicks have played them closer, but that was a game in which the Celtics hit the majority of the threes that they took. Then they proved it again. They could beat you different ways. When I look at this potential series, when I look at the Knicks' best chance to beat Boston, do I think that they consistently can do it over the course of a 7-game series? Absolutely not. But if the Knicks want to steal a game or two, what needs to be consistent, Alex? There's one thing. It's Jalen Brunson, Karl-Anthony Towns showing up offensively. It's Karl-Anthony Towns hitting 6 threes in a game.
That's
Jalen
true.
Brunson scoring 40. Is that sustainable against some of the one of the best defensive teams in NBA history, like they were last year and this year? Like, is that sustainable against 3 guards that they have? Jrue Holiday, one of the best guard defenders in NBA history, Look at the stats. All defensive team, many times. Derek White, one of the best role players in the league. One of the best shot blocking guards we've ever seen. He's great on defense as well. And then Jaylen Brown, one of the best two-way players in the NBA. And Jason Tatum, good defender too. He'll be able to match up again against OG Anunoby, and maybe Mikal, whatever. I look at a very tall task.
Of course.
Because it's I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying the Knicks have no chance to beat Boston in any one of those games. But if you're telling me over a 7-game series against the Boston team who lost 3 games in the playoffs this year, 3 games. And
they played nobody in the East, though. They literally played nobody in the East.
Porzingis the majority of the playoffs. They were missing, one of their top offensive options, their number 3 offensive option.
Right, but like the Pacers were broken down in the Eastern Conference Finals.
The Cavs too.
Yeah, and they were like, I was not impressed with their playoff run last year. They are a machine right now. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not impressed with their playoff.
17-30 over their last 20 games. One of the best records on the road in NBA history. They almost set the record. They almost set the record for best home record. And here's the thing that I look at. 1-5, the Knicks are against the Celtics at MSG over Jalen Brunson's tenure. 1-5. So it's again, they're an unbelievable road team. They rise to the occasion. Jason Tatum has hit big shot after big shot after big shot. It seems like every shot he takes in the last 2 minutes goes in against the Knicks at MSG. I look at that. And again, it's not playoffs, but it's a consistent stat that is built up over time. 3 different Knicks teams. They've not been the same the last 3 years. This team is obviously the different variation of these Knicks teams. But I look at the consistency that this Celtics team has played with at MSG, and it makes me think that you got to win 1 or 2 games at TD Garden, and then you got to win the majority of games at MSG. That is almost an impossible task, and I'm not sitting here telling you it's impossible, but I, for the life of me, cannot understand your hopium when it comes to this Knicks team and the fact that you are not down on the Knicks' chances at this point. You said it. I'm using your words. The Knicks are not likely to beat the Celtics in the second round. So how can you possibly go into this playoff run excited about what is to come? The expectations are high. It sucks when expectations are high. Just ask me. You don't understand it. I'm a Yankees fan. Year in and year out. Thinking the Yankees can win the World Series, they let you down. They lose to the Astros year in and year out. They finally make the World Series last year. They have one of the worst collapses that I've ever seen in Game 1. Stupid
ball. Yeah.
I'm just saying. So I get it. The questions now surround the Knicks with Tom Thibodeau as the coach, just like they surround the Yankees with Aaron Boone. How far can they go with Aaron Boone as their manager? How far can the Knicks go with Tom Thibodeau? Because personnel aside, you look at the team, the talent is off the charts. I said this, and I continue to say it. Talent-wise, Alex, this is the best Knicks starting lineup in their franchise history. Best. Looking back to the 70s,
I don't know.
Better all around. And the fact that they have
that's another whole podcast. Yeah,
I understand. They have 2 top 20 players in the NBA. Objectively, you could look at that and that way, and a bunch of complementary pieces. OG Anunoby was playing like a top 20 player in the NBA. Like the last month and a half. Of the season,
I get it. I
just don't understand it, Alex. I can't get it.
I just. So you said a lot there. Like there was a lot there to unpack, and I forgot some things I wanted to say, but I was letting you go because you were on a roll. Right. Honestly, like I'm not the positive, pom poms kind of fan.
I know.
I'm not that guy.
So confusing to me.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
You see that because you've been following me for a while. Like we follow each other for a while, and like I'm just not that guy. But this team is so good and so experienced that they can overcome some regular season losses come the playoff time.
You think they can?
Well, you think they can't because you saw them lose in the regular season and you gave me regular season stats. And like the point is that in the playoffs last year, the Knicks and the Celtics, I don't know how that series goes. And that's part of why we as fans romanticize about last year's Knicks because we never got to see them lose. We felt like we were cheated. When OG went down, even then they weren't fully healthy because Randall wasn't there. I mean, what is he going to do? Yeah, but once he went down and the series was over right when Brunson broke his thumb. But like once OG went down and they were up 2-0, it was over. And OG comes in, hits those 2 threes on one leg, and Tibbs like, dude, what are we doing here? You can't walk. You need to get out of here. Yeah. And that was incredible, though. You know what I mean? And we got cheated last year from getting that matchup with the Celtics, and that would have been a series that we would never forget. I mean, who knows? It could have been swept. Like, who the hell knows? But at the end of the day, like, we got cheated from that. So we don't know, and we keep comparing this year's teams to last year's team. But you said it yourself that they have the most talented, like, starting five, in your opinion, in their franchise history. This team is better than last year's team. Yeah, they didn't show the toughness and the grit that they should have most of this year. They still won 51 games. They beat a lot of bad teams. That's great. But they did what they had to do. They got the 3 seed. They're playing a worse team in the first round in the Pistons that they should beat nicely and easily. And then you see what happens in, like, when we lace them up versus the Celtics and let's go. I'm part of it might be how, like, we've been through so much as a fan base, and you've seen it all also over the last 25 years and shit. Like, they've been so bad. And they had the mellow years, which were great, that we've had. It's been such a long time for me. The last time the Knicks were in the finals, I was in 9th grade, and I'm 40 years old. You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's been a long time, man. Yeah. And this team legitimately can win it all. Will they? I don't know, but they can. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, miserable the whole year just because of expectations. You know what I mean? Expectations is a privilege. It's amazing to have them as a fan base. And I know the thing that made that Hawks series so disappointing was that we were so excited as a fan base. And part of it could have been COVID, where we're so excited to get outside and, like, this is amazing. Like, we dancing in the streets after one playoff win, you know? So, which I hope they don't dance in the streets when they beat the Pistons in game 1. Like, you know, that's going to happen though.
I don't think so.
It's going to be the side talk are going to be out there, you know, hyping people up, people looking to go viral. It's not going to be real Knicks fans out there. Just put it that way. But, you know, anyway, the point is that I think that they can do it. And the fact that they can, I'm going to stay positive that they will, because I've been through so much as a fan. And I think that they can do it because come playoff time, the Celtics haven't proved to me, even as champions, that they can beat a top team in the playoffs, because they have not done it yet to win a championship. I know they've been in the playoffs a million years, but they keep falling short. So I just think that the Knicks, with the talent they have and the playoff experience that they have, can beat the Celtics. Will they? I don't know. Like, honestly, I'm not sitting here and saying there's no chance. And you're not saying there's no chance. You're just saying it's extremely unlikely. I'm saying it's unlikely. And I just think that lace them up. Let's see who's healthy. Let's see what happens. As your boy Nice in the comments said, Jaylen Brown has also been hurt, you know, towards the end of the year. And that's been tough. You know what I mean? So it's you never know what happens. And like I said, Porzingis is made of glass. So, you know, let's lace him up. And, you know, Mitch Robinson's made of glass. So, you know what? Like, we got to see how we get out of this Pistons series. Don't get sucked into their nonsense and the minutia of the fights. And, like, don't, like, bring Precious out there and just intimidate Stewart. He dunked on him in that game. And, like, you know, he's the tough guy that you can put out there. You know, don't ignore him on the team. I feel like Boomer Esiason, but don't ignore Precious Achiuwa. You know what I mean? Get him out there. Bring him in there, and, like, let's see what happens, and let's go, man. I'm excited for Saturday. I'm excited, and the one thing that might really, really be tough for this fan base, I don't know if it'd be tough for the team because they're experienced, but let's say they lose game 2, and then you have that long break till Thursday for game 3. That's gonna be a rough couple of days. Yeah, so you have to come out of the Garden up 2-0, and then go into the Pistons, and then the series is over. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. I don't want it to be a long series. Like you said, we need some rest, but they've had the rest. You know what I mean? The last couple of weeks, they've been resting. So I'm excited. The points are taken. I'm just very positive with this team. I'm just excited. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to rock.
See, here's the thing, because you haven't been positive surrounding one guy, and that's Tom Thibodeau. For the last few years, I think maybe it was a little more harsh in previous
this year. I'm not.
Than this year, which, for the life of me, I cannot understand, because this is, you know, the most expected. He
keeps winning, man. Like, how can you keep trashing a coach that keeps winning? He's won playoff series the last 2 years. They win 50 games a year. Like, how can you keep trashing the coach? He's doing something right. You can't keep giving credit to assistant coaches for players developing. Like, you know what I'm saying? We keep giving other people pick and choose who we want to give praise to and criticism to based on your narratives. Like, people used to say, you know, even going back to Phil Jackson, they would never give Phil Jackson credit for drafting Porzingis. They'd give what's his name? I forgot his name. That's no longer with the Knicks. the credit for drafting Porzingis. He was banging. Gaines. He was banging on the table to draft Porzingis. Phil didn't even want him. You know what? Phil also wanted to trade Porzingis for Devin Booker, but everybody called him crazy for that. You know what I mean? And Phil Jackson wasn't good here the Knicks for the, don't get me wrong, but he did some good things. And the point is, we can't pick and choose who we give credit to. He's the head man in charge. Phil Jackson was when he drafted Porzingis. He gets the credit. Tibbs is the head man in charge right now with the Knicks. He gets the credit. They've won 50 games a year. They've been to the playoffs 3 out of 4 years. Now 4 out of 5 years. In 50 games 2 years in a row. Last time that happened, it was mid-90s. I was in elementary school, man. This is what I'm talking about. Dude, we have to just sometimes be a little positive. And I know I'm not the guy to say it because everybody calls me negative, but I was negative when the team wasn't doing shit. And we're dancing in the streets over one playoff win. I was at that game, the Hawks game, and I was dancing too, but that was because of all the construction in the bottleneck. I'm get me the fuck out of here as soon as I could. But I'm yeah, because they just won. Who cares? I have the videos and stuff. It was great. And I was a little drunk too. But at the same time, it's let's enjoy the moment, enjoy the ride a little bit, guys. You know what I mean? Stop worrying about what they're not and just appreciate what they are. And let's go. We have a chance to beat the Celtics. You have a chance to beat the Cavs. You have a chance to win the entire thing. And that doesn't come along often with this franchise, man. Let's just have some fun. Jeez.
So you
hyped
said
up, bro. I'm getting sweating again. I know it's from my wife blasting the heat.
Tell your wife to fucking turn it down. What is going on? But you said and to your credit, you like to give Tom Thibodeau credit for the things that he's done well in the player development, which I tend to agree with that he deserves that. But who deserves the blame for when they go 0-10 and 0-16 against you add the Lakers and a couple of other teams in there, they still win 50 games, terrific. But they lose so many different winnable games against teams that, so does he deserve blame for that? I'd like to think so. And I think that his job is 100% on the line here. This is not, this is not smooth sailing here for Tom Thibodeau with no pressure on him.
Oh yeah. I think especially with Mike Malone sitting out there. I know not everybody's a big fan of him, but he started his career with the Knicks. He's an assistant coach. He was assistant coach with the Knicks back in the day, and he's from Queens or Jersey, wherever he's from. I think it's Queens, but I think he grew up in Jersey or something. But he's from here, from the area. He's a Knick guy, won a championship, got fired ridiculously unfairly. And say what you want about him. He shouldn't have been fired at that time. You wait to the end of the season at that point. What are you doing? You just kind of ruin the whole chance of winning at all. But anyway, it's the offseason. Tibbs loses in the first round or in the second round, gets embarrassed. You got Mike Malone sitting there. He already knows Dolan. It's kind of hard to say no to that. But you never know what Leon Rose is going to do based on, his track record. Everybody thought he was going to bring up TJ Warren all year. Where's TJ Warren? Not here.
So let me ask you one more thing.
Yeah.
Before you die from sweat. Where do you think the Knicks I guess my question is, I think we would agree on the fact that if the Knicks lose the series to the Pistons, that Tom could be gone. Yeah. But they play the Celtics. What are your thoughts on if the Knicks get swept or get gentlemen swept? What happens to Tom Thibodeau?
It depends how those games go. If they're losing by 20, 30, and they look like they don't belong on the same floor, and they lose in 5, or lose in 4, I think he's gone. I think he should be gone. I don't think he will be because he got the second round and you lost the champs and who might be the eventual champs, et cetera, et cetera. So there's kind of an argument to keep him one more year in that standpoint. And then at the end of next year, he'll be on the hot seat or maybe fired if they don't go past the second round. But if they lose in 5 and they steal one in game 4 when they're down 3-0 and then they get blown out in game 5 in Boston, then it's dude, what are we doing here? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I know this team was kind of thrown together at the last minute based on the trades before training camp, and you want to see how they are next year. But, Mikal Bridges chirping in the middle of the year. We want to give some guys more minutes. That's not a good sign. That's usually the beginning of an end for a coach in the NBA. You follow enough, whenever someone's talking about the coach is the one to go. They lose that battle every time. It doesn't matter who you are, and so I think it depends how that series goes. If they get to the Celtics and they lose in 6 or 7 and they're hard fought, maybe they get blown out 2 times here or there, whatever, then he's fine. He's back and he's not even on the hot seat. But if they lose to the Pistons in any way possible, I think he should be gone. I don't think there's anybody who would say anything about that. Mikal Bridges trade and the Towns trade, totally put him on the the hot seat. Like, this is it. This is all we can do. This is the team. This is the team in the next few years. Minor changes on the bench. Maybe get a rookie in there, second round pick. Who knows? But this is the team. And Mikal Bridges you can't expect him to live up to 5 first-round picks because he's not going to, but he has to be there to help you win a championship or get to the finals or get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Otherwise, the trade was not worth it. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you can't look at it like a lot of people are like, he's not Giannis. You know what I'm saying?
You got to capitalize on the trade that you made. You kind of went all in with the Bridges trade, and if your coach isn't completely, helping that player turn into what you thought he could be, that's on the coach. You got one more year to figure that out with Bridges before he's up for an extension. And you think if he continues to play like this, he's not going to make as much money as he thought he would. For sure. But yeah, I mean, listen, I think that the coach could be in hot water here. But this is fun, man. We got to do it again. I know your availability is going to go down in the coming weeks, but this is fun. And if you ever got any free time, shoot me a text. I've got way too much on my hands. So.
Maybe next week we'll do it before I start doing something new with my life.
Let's do it. I got cleaning people supposed to come at 3 and they never come on time. I already got the thing ringing. Like,
you got a cleaning lady, bro? In your what do you have, a studio apartment? You got a cleaning lady?
No. I live with 2 other kids and it's a mess. Oh, okay. Come every 3.
So that's your bedroom. I'm sorry. I thought that was your whole apartment behind you.
No. Where's the kitchen? No, yeah. I tell them to come at 3. They come at 2. It's a joke.
That's annoying. At least come later. You know what I'm saying?
This is fun. I appreciate it, man, as always, and thank you to everyone tuning in. Well, maybe next week. I mean, I'm around, so we'll do something.
We'll see what happens.
All right, Alex.
All right, Bryce. Thanks for having me on. See ya.